In this episode of Coffee with Quallich, I have the honor and privilege of getting to know the Mayor of Rochester, Ardell F. Brede. I met with Mayor Brede in downtown Rochester at Cafe Steam, where I first asked him how he got into politics.
Well, that's always a good question. Even when I'm visiting elementary schools, usually one of the students will say, "Why are you mayor?" And what, well, first of all, you got to be elected. But actually, I had no intention of this. I worked at Methodist Hospital and then the merger with Mayo for over 43 years. But way back in that, different times, some of my colleagues would say, "Someday you got to run for mayor." And I said, "Well, really? What's that all about?" And so they must have seen something. And I was involved in a lot of things. United Way, I was president of the United Way 1 year. But the previous mayor, to me, was Mayor Canfield, and he ran for city council first. And we're good friends, go to the same church. We have 3 kids that are both are matching with his kids at Mayo High School and others. He asked me one Sunday at church, he says that he was going to run for city council, and would I be his campaign chair? And I thought, okay, so I did that and did decide to run. And of course the little story on that one is he had indicated once that he then wasn't going to run again, and so I was kind of gearing up for it. But then he did run again, and I mean, we are good friends. We still are very good friends. But I ran against the guy that once asked me to be his campaign manager and defeated him at that time. This term I will have a total of 16 by the time they're done with this term.
So that begs the question: how many more years do you have left in you?
I always like the quote that Bud Grant used to say as he coached the Vikings. He would always say, "You don't have to make that decision until you have to make that decision." And so I will most likely make that decision in my last year, whether I will run again or not. And I mean, people are very kind. I mean, people will say to me, "Ardell, you got to continue running. You can't quit." And I said, "Well, there is a point where I got to quit." And so we'll see.
So you've been, as you said, mayor for 14 years now. When you look back, is there something, do you think, maybe I wish we could have done, or I could have done maybe a little bit differently?
Well, I guess one thing that I don't think is little, but in some people's mind it might be, I really thought, and tried it twice and I wasn't successful, I wanted to be able to have a prayer before city council meetings, live at that point. And the first time I kind of looked back and I thought, well, I didn't properly get it set up for the council to approve it. And they defeated that at that time. Then it was about 4 years later that I thought, well, I'll work on this a little bit differently this time, and hopefully we can do it. I always say, why do we always say when something bad happens, we say, "I'll pray for you," which is appropriate. But at the same time, can't we give thanks in prayer and so on? And also, and I think this was an important part, was that we could use that as an opportunity to highlight the various faith communities that are in this city. So that is something I continue to work on. I think Rochester by nature is a very compassionate city. We are a service-driven community, no question. But that's something that I would continue to work on.
So to wrap this up now, I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
Pretty. One of them's kind of tough, 2 are a little bit easy. So first question, Mayor Brady's favorite food?
Well, I'm a steak and potato guy, but while I miss having Michael's here with their filet mignon, which is great, and then I have a favorite restaurant up in Minneapolis, that's Murray's. Silver butternut steak for 2, and their garlic toast is to die for. It's good.
Complete the sentence. I can't live without.
Well, I can't live without the love of my wife. We've been married now for, it'll be coming in March, it'll be 54 years.
Congratulations.
So it is something that's pretty special for us, and she's been very supportive all along through all of this. I'm not sure she'd be supportive of another term.
We'll find out, yeah?
We'll find out, yeah.
Okay. So the last question, so 100 years from now when people see your portrait in City Hall, what do you want them to think?
And to know that I represented all people in Rochester, the various cultures, the various religions, gender, etc. So I would hope at that point that that's something that people will remember.